Dirt Trax is sponsored by Can-Am. The ride says it all. Polaris, the world leader in off-road innovation. And by Yamaha. Conquer Outdoors.
From the moment you wake up till when the sun goes down, your ATV needs to be capable of handling all the tasks you had in mind when you bought it. Some days this means you need it to work hard without stopping. Other days it may mean you need it to get you away from the grind so you can finally unwind and relax. Whatever the scenario, an ATV is so much more than just four wheels and a motor. Getting the job done is infinitely easier with Polaris' Sportsman 450 HO Utility Edition. More than just a name and sticker, the Utility Edition includes all kinds of great features that make work feel less arduous and, most importantly, take less time. Underneath it all, this is a standard Sportsman 450 HO, which means it's powered by Polaris' single-cylinder 499cc overhead cam EFI engine that pumps out 33 horsepower. It rides on Polaris' well-known and trusted McPherson strut front suspension system that produces 8.2 inches of travel. Out back, you're going to find double A-arms that produce 9.5 inches of travel, and overall you end up with 10.5 inches of ground clearance. This is a suspension and chassis that you can trust. It's been around with few changes for decades and has an outstanding reputation for functionality and reliability. The 450 Sportsman has always been an impressive performer that starts and runs perfect and has power and torque to rival larger utility ATVs. You'll rarely, if ever, find you need more power than the 450 offers. So we know and trust this engine and chassis package, but this isn't your average Sportsman 450. This is the utility version, which means that it has a few extra features aimed at completing tasks no matter what they are. For example, a metal rear cargo rack is a departure for Polaris from their standard plastic units. It's designed to be durable while offering unlimited tie-down options. There's also cargo trays built in on either side that are designed to hold smaller items without having them fall through, and the cargo trays are sized perfectly to hold a 5-gallon pail. Up front, you'll find Polaris' typical plastic rack with 6 gallons of storage underneath, but this version includes a metal rack added to the top of it, again offering unlimited tie-down options for people who are more concerned about function than an integrated look. That's not to say the front rack looks bad, not at all. In fact, I think it looks pretty tough, especially when combined with this burly front bumper and brush guard. Integrated into the front bumper is a 1.25-inch hitch receiver capable of pulling up to 850 pounds, which is something you won't find on almost any other utility ATV. This one feature offers a whole host of new possibilities for towing, pulling, or adding attachments. Of course, out back you'll also find another 1.25-inch receiver with a 1,250-pound capacity. Imagine the possibilities with this setup. You could have a winch that can be swapped front or rear, or how easy it would be to move trailers and implements around using a front-mounted hitch ball. There is one thing that this utility edition is missing that I think any utility ATV should absolutely have, and that's turf mode. This vehicle's meant for work, which can often mean maneuvering in tight locations or on sensitive surfaces. Turf mode is a must-have option for an ATV with this mandate. I do also think a utility ATV should have power steering, but because Polaris is being budget conscious with the 450 Sportsman, the lack of power steering here is forgivable. These days, it's not unreasonable to expect that if you work hard, you should be able to play hard also. And that's where Polaris' Sportsman 450 HO Utility Edition really shows its value. All the same chassis and engine specifications that make this thing a great tool also make it a great toy. It has strong power, smooth suspension, top-notch handling, and excellent rider ergonomics. This is a utility-focused ATV, there's no question. But like all Polaris Sportsmans, it's also a great recreational vehicle as well. None of the utility features that set this vehicle apart when it's time to get the job done will get in your way when you want to reward yourself with an afternoon trail ride, whether it be more mellow or more on the technical side. Life today seems to be all about the work versus reward equation. We measure so many things this way. If I do this, I'll get this. The most successful of us understand that the harder you work, the more you get rewarded. So Polaris built an ATV that is there for you when it's time to work, no matter how hard or for how long. But they built that very same ATV to be the reward you worked so hard for at the end of the day. The life of a Sportsman 450 HO Utility Edition is double-sided, and the two sides are basically complete opposites. Yet somehow this one ATV manages to perform in both of them equally as well. And it does all this for a price most hardworking people can afford, and one that really doesn't represent how capable, functional, and fun it really is. If you work hard so that you can reward yourself at the end of the day by playing hard, the Sportsman 450 HO Utility Edition was built specifically for people like you.
Dirt Trax is sponsored by Princess Auto, a unique world of equipment, tools, and more.
You don't have to have your ear very close to the ground to know that something pretty big has happened in our industry. Yamaha brought out an all-new twin-cylinder motor, and they put it in a Rec-Ute 4-seat side-by-side. While the introduction of the all-new Yamaha Wolverine X4 4-seat side-by-side is great news, almost equal excitement has been felt from the introduction of the 847cc dual overhead cam 8-valve parallel twin power plant that's found under the bodywork. It's built like a tank with forged pistons and rods. This high RPM 270-degree firing motor is dry sump and said to deliver stellar power throughout the entire RPM spectrum. Mounted into the new X4 chassis with rubber isolating engine mounts and utilizing a geared counterbalancer, this is sure to be one of, if not the smoothest Yamaha motors to date. Adding to the engine technology is Yamaha's YCCT, or Yamaha Chip Controlled Throttle. It's a brand new to market drive-by-wire system. Drive-by-wire systems have been all the rage recently, and for good reason. Like other brands, Yamaha has opted to offer a removable key that locks the unit to a max of 25 miles per hour, making it perfect for new riders, worksite operations, and other scenarios where full power is just not needed. Now, we're pretty big fans of the Wolverine's Rec Utility position that lets you play during the weekends and work during the week, and the X4 just takes that one step further. Whether you want the X4 as it comes or you need to haul a crew fully enclosed in a direct from Yamaha hard cab full enclosure, you now have options. Now, looking at the rear seat, I thought, oh no, what has Yamaha done? Those are full-size seats with little cargo room behind them. Not to worry, they are very usable high backs but do offer fully stowaway for increased box capacity should you need it, increasing workability while still maintaining the 4-seat functionality. When it comes to suspension, the Wolverine boasts really solid numbers of both ground clearance and suspension travel with an added feature that we haven't seen for a while. 10.7 inches of ground clearance and 8.7 inches of travel up front with 8.9 inches in the rear. Both feature dual A-arm setup and are limited to preload adjustability. But one feature that we haven't seen for a little while are self-leveling rear shocks. We've always loved this feature whenever we have used it, and it actually works. Essentially, the shocks recognize the load on them and within a few hundred feet and through the first few bumps self-level themselves by changing the valving inside of the shocks. With a 600-pound cargo capacity and 2,000 pounds towing capacity, you're sure to get a lot of use out of these really cool shocks. The Wolverine 4 is a very refined vehicle for Yamaha, even more so than what we're used to, and their attention to NVH on this build is very noticeable. NVH stands for noise, vibration, and harshness, and features like spiral and helical cut gears, the engine counterbalancer, and rubber mounts, along with other refinements, mean that this is going to be a very smooth operator, and exceptionally quiet during use. Add to this the near 600 watts of available electrical output, 4 pre-wired accessory switches, full doors, LED lighting both front and rear, as well as a new LCD dimmable gauge package, and you've got one fully featured side-by-side that doesn't just offer you increased workability and functionality, it offers you all of that, and you can take a crew of 4 along for the ride. We've been anticipating a Wolverine 4-seater for a while now, but what we didn't expect was a brand new twin-cylinder power plant, convertible rear seats, self-leveling rear shocks, or, well, you get the point. This time Yamaha swung for the fences, and they hit it right out of the park. Make sure you stay tuned to future episodes of Dirt Trax where we're going to test ride the all-new Yamaha Wolverine X4.
Dirt Trax is sponsored by MBRP Power Sports, race-inspired performance.
There's no question the best type of side-by-side tire is one that is terrain-specific to where you ride most. Whether you ride in the mud, you're going to want a mud tire. If you ride in the sand, you want a sand tire. If you ride performance style all the time, you buy a performance tire. But what if you need a tire that can do pretty much everything equally as well? If that is the case, ITP's got you covered. They have 3 excellent do-it-all products for side-by-side owners: the Mud Light 2, the Terracross RT, and the Blackwater Evolution. I think today we should take a look at what makes these tires a great choice for all conditions, starting with the Mud Light 2. Even though this tire has mud in its name, we think it's a great all-terrain tire choice because of what it can do outside of the mud pit. Ride smooth on the trail? You got it, even with these monster lugs. Carry a heavy load down the trail? No problem, especially with the stabilizing cords ITP has added to reduce the tire flex. You want it to clear 15 inches of heavy snow off your driveway? It can do that too, thanks to some new traction enhancements ITP added over the original Mud Light. And of course, when the time does come to get muddy, the Mud Light 2 can get you through and out of the mud pit without even breaking a sweat. Next up is the Terracross RT. From the desert to dense forest trails, this versatile tire is great for a wide variety of challenging conditions. We like the Terracross RT Radial as an all-purpose tire because it features a traction-enhancing interlocking tread pattern. It also has a super wide footprint and wraparound shoulder lugs that'll help you get out of those deep ruts that form when the ground gets soft. Overall, these features combine to make the Terracross RT one of the best all-round tires, whether it's sand, rocks, dirt, gravel, snow, you name it. Next up, we've got the Blackwater Evolution. Durability and flexibility are the most important points here. That's because these tires are made with ITP's special tough tread rubber compound. They also include sidewall armor for extended wear and puncture resistance. The Blackwaters feature a unique non-directional tread pattern that we've found gets excellent traction on pretty much any surface. But what's most important about these tires is that even with this aggressive lug, they don't seem to negatively affect the ride and handling of your side-by-side at all. Now that you know what features we think are most important for an all-terrain type tire, we need to take a look at how to choose the best tire for your side-by-side. It's easy to choose the wrong size or fitment, so getting that right the first time is important. Side-by-sides can weigh almost twice as much as a normal ATV, so picking a UTV-specific tire is extremely important. You want to pick one with a minimum of a 6-ply rating and one with a thick sidewall to help handle all that extra weight. The Terracross RT, for example, is equipped with an additional sidewall ply and wraparound shoulder lugs for added durability. The Blackwater Evolution features ITP's sidewall armor for added strength, and the Mud Light 2's wraparound lugs not only protect the shoulder of the tire, but also improve traction in rugged conditions. Just remember, side-by-sides are heavy-duty vehicles, so you're gonna need a heavy-duty tire. Of course, you're also gonna want a tire that lasts a long time. Different terrain affects tread wear differently depending on the composition of the rubber used in whatever tire you're running. That's why ITP uses specially formulated rubber compounds in these tires to extend the tread life of the tire and improve puncture resistance. The next and possibly most important thing you need to think about is tire size. And before you can decide which tire size you want to buy, you need to take a look at what size tire came stock on your side-by-side. All ATV tires have stamped on the side of them a number combination that goes something like this: 26 by 9-12, or something for the rear like 26 by 11-12. The 26 represents the height of the tire in inches, the 11 represents the width of the tire in inches, and the 12 represents the diameter of the wheel. If you want to go bigger, the general rule of thumb is that you can go up to 1 inch larger in height and width, say from 26 to 27 inches high or from 9 to 10 inches wide. You can definitely go bigger than 1 inch, but you might find your tires rub on your fenders, which would require a lift, or you might find they rob too much power, which would require the install of a clutch kit. But not to worry, ITP offers a full range of sizes for all 3 of these all-purpose tires, from 25 inches tall all the way up to giant 34-inch tall Blackwater Evolutions, and most of these tires accommodate both 12 and 14-inch wheels. The final note I've got for you when you're buying new tires for your side-by-side is this: if you're not sure what size or style of tire to buy, swallow your pride and consult a professional. You need to make sure you get the right size and design of tire. Otherwise, you could be hurting the performance of your side-by-side and going backwards instead of forwards.
Closed captioning of Dirt Trax is sponsored by Triton Trailer, built for adventure.
Before Can-Am released the Defender, Polaris's Ranger stood in a class of its own in terms of performance, versatility, and value. But as we saw with last season's 6-seat utility shootout, the Defender not only gave the Ranger some competition, it actually outclassed the Ranger in more than a few ways. Today, we got our hands on a new 2017 Defender HD8 DPS to see if that shorter and less powerful Defender is as good as its larger counterpart. The HD8 is powered by a 799cc Rotax V-twin that puts out 50 horsepower. Now I gotta say right up front, in this category, 50 horsepower is not that impressive, and I'm quite surprised Can-Am didn't give this vehicle a little bit more jam. But what this motor lacks in overall horsepower, it makes up for in unbelievable refinement. I'm talking 3 forks, elbow off the table, past the Grey Poupon type of refinement. Firstly, it's quiet, like super quiet. From the moment you start it till the end of the day, this engine simply whispers back behind your seat. And it's smooth, really smooth. It feels like a sewing machine more than a side-by-side motor. For lack of a better term, this engine purrs at idle. And even when you stab the throttle, there's no real noticeable increase in engine vibration. Also extremely smooth is Can-Am's Pro Torque transmission. While still a CVT, it includes a few features we've never seen before, like the QRS Quick Response System for lightning-fast backshifts, or the Electronic Drive Belt Protection System. Engagement is soft and easy to modulate. Power delivery is even with no abrupt power spikes. I'll just come straight out and say it, this is the nicest utility side-by-side engine and transmission combination I've ever operated. The DPS model of the Defender HD8 includes a single-mode variant of Can-Am's power steering system. It is speed sensitive and it provides near perfect levels of assist for any scenario we could find to test it in. An unlocking rear diff that can be either open or closed in both 2 and 4x4 modes is combined with Can-Am's very well-known and liked ViscoLock QE auto-locking front diff. We really like ViscoLock because it works and it's basically invisible. We also really like having the option to lock or unlock the rear diff in both 2 and 4-wheel drive modes. Sometimes you want 4x4, but you don't need the rear diff locked, so it's a nice option to have. Chassis-wise, the HD8 Defender is essentially the same as the HD10. It comes standard with preload adjustable shocks that damp 10 inches of travel from double A-arms up front and Can-Am's TTA HD double A-arm system out back. In terms of ride compliance, I found the HD8 to be flawless on smaller stuff, but seemed to stiffen up as the shocks stroked further into their travel. I think softer compression settings would be a huge improvement. Where the Defender really leaps ahead of its competition is in the features department. I can't stress enough how intelligent and well thought out this interior really is. The seats? They're comfortable, and they flip up to expose almost the entire inside of the cab if you ever found you needed that space. The dash has tons of storage areas that surprisingly are actually functional and useful. The glove box area is actually a small toolbox that locks into the dash and can be easily removed. The roll cage on the HD8 accepts a fully integrated cab system that can be installed as a unit or in individual pieces depending on your needs. The dump box has a single lever release tailgate and dual side-mounted dump box release levers that operate very smoothly. The DPS model comes standard with a nice set of aluminum wheels wrapped in 27-inch Maxxis Bighorn 2s, but only comes with a small gauge in the dash. When you move up to the XT, you get a bigger gauge, 3 drive modes, and a few other items, though in our opinion, they aren't entirely necessary. Build quality has always been one of Can-Am's strong suits, and the HD8 proves this hasn't changed one bit. This vehicle feels tight. There are no rattles, no squeaks, nothing feels loose. Even on the harshest, roughest trail, this thing feels like one solid unit. Price-wise, the Defender HD8 DPS is on par with its closest competition, the Ranger 900 XP. The Ranger has more power, but the HD8 has a quieter, smoother running engine, smoother transmission, and overall more useful features. If we were talking about a sport side-by-side where power and speed are top of the list specifications, the Ranger's more powerful engine might be a bigger factor. But this is the utility category. Now don't get me wrong, power is definitely still a factor, but the HD8 does have more than enough of it. It's the refinement, the build quality, and all those other little things that set this vehicle apart from its competition. I can honestly say if I was shopping in this category, I would have an extremely tough time passing up the Defender HD8.
Dirt Trax Television has been sponsored by Polaris, the world leader in off-road innovation, Can-Am, the ride says it all, and by Textron Off-Road, driven by the bold.
This segment is just the start for you. Click the subscribe button and become part of the Dirt Trax Nation, where you'll have access to tons of great content from all of the years past of our great stories, trail techs, and test rides.